So first of all, obviously, as you must customary start with, thank you so much to everyone for coming to this talk. We're really excited to host GossipGrrrl on a really interesting topic of trans art history. I'm just going to talk about money for a little bit, so please just drown me out if it's a difficult topic. If you please, so you can support these workshops and tip GossipGrrrl by donating directly to our PayPal. And in my rush, I haven't got the right link to the PayPal, but you can go through to our website and go to the donate page if you'd like to tip after this or during, and all that money will go straight to GossipGrrrl. You can also make a monthly donation via our Patreon if you like subscription fees, which everyone loves subscription fees. Thank you very much, Anna. Which will help just fund these workshops in general. You can also see old workshops on our YouTube and on our site on this link, which we'll just pop in chat. And that's all stuff from like trans history rather, not trans art history. This is the first one, really excited. But things like natural sciences and things like that, really interesting topics that we've been able to host people on before. This workshop is being recorded, but we will only use the GossipGrrrl's talk bits to release publicly online after editing the video, just like all of the other videos that we published online. They're just the talk bits. And I will stop the recording at the end of this talk. You can turn on closed captions on Google Meets on this platform. There's a little square and it says CC. It should be somewhere on your screen. If you would like to use the chat function at any point during this talk to ask questions, and then we'll keep them until the end. You can also, if you want to be fancy, use the actual Q&A function, which is under the activities tab, which has the triangle, the square, and the circle. And you scroll to Q&A, and then you can ask your question in there, and that just really helps keep things all in one place. So yeah, I'll pass over to GossipGrrrl. Thank you so much for listening to all that. Thank you so much for coming today, especially.
Thank you for the introduction. Yeah, I am gonna make sure I'm on the right screen so everyone can see the presentation. So welcome to Girl with the Pearl Eggplant Emoji, a trans history of art. I am GossipGrrrl. This is a bit slow, which is to be expected. There we go. Well, all at once. Great. So this will be an interactive talk. There are fun questions to answer via the QR code or going to slido.com and entering the code that will be on my slide. There will be some nudity because it's art. So if that's not your thing, then you're welcome to leave now. But also please do stay. If you have any questions, pop them in the chat and I'm happy to answer as best as I can. We can also have questions at the end. I will be reading mostly from the slides. So all the relevant information should be on screen. Sorry if I do start to wander off a little bit though. Everything okay so far? Can everyone see everything? Yeah? We good?
Yes. Thank you so much.
I can't see anything else on my screen, just the presentation. That's why I'm having to ask, just for context for people. Are you sitting comfortably? Then let's begin. We are going to travel back through time in my nondescript blue box that is definitely not a TARDIS from Doctor Who, so don't sue me, BBC, to the time of the Romans. And we're going to talk about Hermaphroditos and Eros. And we're going to talk about this little vase in particular. So Hermaphroditos and or Eros, who even is she? So Eros was the son of Aphrodite and Hermes, and was the god of passionate and physical desire. So the god of fucking, basically. Hermaphroditos was the child of Hermaphrodite and Hermes, and is essentially the deity of the love of femininity. She was made intersex by fusing them with the water nymph Salmacis. I'm assuming that's how you pronounce it. Never heard it pronounced before. Gonna go with that. This vase is Roman or Greek redware vase depicting Eros or Hermaphroditus. It's from Apulia in southern Italy from around 320 BCE. Apulia had numerous Greek colonies, which is why I say it could be either Roman or Greek. Unfortunately, the information that I was able to get just says Roman or Greek, not very helpful. Vases like this with decoration of intersex and or trans women were used in all-male symposiums, which is really unsurprising that they would all want sexy trans women on their vases. This one is held in the National Museum of Poland in Warsaw, which is very exciting. This one is a similar one in the Birmingham Museum, and this is a redware hydria vase. So you can see the wings and the general form and the pearls going on. Okay, but why does she have wings? Does she usually have wings? That is a great question. Wings symbolize divinity and a higher purpose, telling the user / drinker that she isn't just any trans woman, but she is literally the divine feminine, which I think is great, given that all the pagans are all like divine feminine, yoni energy. It's like the divine feminine for Romans and Greeks in various areas was literally a trans woman. And here we go again, going through time in this very slow, nondescript blue box. I couldn't find the Doctor Who music to use. Oh, the measly Middle Ages. Here we go. So we're going to talk about Ulrich von Liechtenstein, who is racing across your screen now, or should be, hopefully. Yeah? Did that flash? Did that go?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, good. Just checking everything's working, otherwise some things will not make any sense. So here we go. Here is our first question, interactiveness. What was Ulrich famous for? Be as wrong as you like. Scan the QR code with your phone, or you can go to slido.com and put in the code. Yeah, what suggestions do people have, what they think Ulrich von Liechtenstein might have been famous for? Smallest horse in Europe, racing across screens. Sandwiches. Any other one? Conquering Hungary? Not quite. Eating once a day. Inventing Liechtenstein. Orgies. Yeah. Wearing odd socks. Decorating horses really well. Cheese. Okay. This is fantastic. Outfits. Some of you are close. Some of you are close. Smallest horse in Europe, sadly not. Fly fits. Okay, let's see what Ulrich von Liechtenstein was famous for. So Ulrich von Liechtenstein, who even is she? She was born in the 1200s in Styria, Austria. She cross-dressed across Europe in 1226 as Venus, the Queen of Love. She managed to pass as a woman the entire time, and she nearly fucked another cross-dresser as both were passing at the time. So some of you were kind of there with fly fits and gay. Yeah. I guess conquering Hungary, but with fly fits and gay. This is true. There's Little Rat from Horrible Histories. So here's the illustration again. This illustration is from the Codex Manesse from Zurich, illustrated in 1305, which is 30 years after Ulrich's death. The image is not accurate, as Ulrich was clad in white and was also not bearing a coat of arms, otherwise it would have been a shit disguise. You don't really pass if you've got your coat of arms constantly there and have everyone know who you are. Yeah. One thing I forgot to actually write down, now I realise it, is that Ulrich von Liechtenstein wrote a poem, one of the first epic poems in the German language, about cross-dressing across Europe, which is brilliant. that is a thing. So in this illustration, we see Ulrich riding on top of some sort of demonic battle taking place below, showing that Ulrich was above such concerns. We also see that fish are included to show virtue. Fish are often included in these kinds of pictures to show that someone was virtuous and being a good Christian. So cross-dressing here was seen as a virtuous thing to do, which is pretty good. Cross-dressing is definitely a virtuous thing in my book. Whoa, we're going through time again. Woo! In the very slow animated box, I really should have sped that up. And we're already in the Renaissance. How time flies. Da-dum-dum-ch. Here's a little gif of Philomena Kunk asking which was more culturally significant, the Renaissance or Single Ladies by Beyonce. I'll let you make up your mind yourselves for that. So let's talk about the Ugly Duchess, who is rising and levitating above right now. So the Ugly Duchess, who even is she? The actual title for this painting is A Grotesque Old Woman, and she doesn't really seem very grotesque to me. She was painted by Flemish artist Quentin Matsis in 1513. And she currently lives in the National Portrait Gallery in London. And we are going to have another quiz. Here we go. What unbelievable phrase did the National Portrait Gallery use to refer to the woman in the painting? Banana lady, sausage woman, or bum smuggler? Bum smuggler is a fantastic one. So 63% voted bun smuggler, 38% voted sausage woman. The actual answer is nobody voted banana lady, but the actual answer is sausage woman, which is definitely an unbelievable phrase. The leaderboard. Oh, we get a leaderboard. I didn't realize there was a leaderboard with this. So yeah, the National Portrait Gallery thinks she could be a reference to a traditional folk dance that involved a man cross-dressing and waving sausages about, hence why they repeatedly referred to her as a sausage woman in their catalogue. I actually talked to the curator and bought the catalogue, and the word transvestite is mentioned once and once only. The rest of the catalogue refers to her as the sausage woman, which is fantastic. The Galai Roman trans women priestesses had a similar dance they would do as part of their holy rites. that involved waving their severed penises through the streets. So not a big leap to waving a sausage instead. The theory is that she is trans or a crossdresser, comes from her outfit not being very Renaissance of her. This outfit was from more of a late medieval kind of time. And this could be because a number of trans women will wear unfashionable / last era's clothes when we first start dressing as women. And I can confirm that from experience that I wore some very unfashionable and unflattering things myself. Her face is the main reason people seem to think she is a transvestite and say that it's mainly, that it's manly even. But there is also the theory that she had Paget's disease, which is a dysregulatory bone remodeling disease. And also that could just be how she looked. There could be no reason for why she looks like this other than this is how she looks, because people look different. The rosebud that she is holding there, circled with a little pink, is usually a way of showing a young woman is a virgin in a portrait to send to a prospective husband. And cis art historians say that this is a joke, but that's just plain old trans misogyny. It's also strikingly similar to this red chalk drawing that Leonardo da Vinci definitely copied off Matsys even. This one currently lives in the Royal Collection at Windsor Castle. There was originally the thought that Leonardo da Vinci had done it first, and it was all, you know, obviously he's the great master, it must be him. And actually, when people have looked at dates and research, actually no, Leonardo da Vinci saw Matsys painting and was like, oh, I like that, maybe I'll sketch that for myself. Oh, we're going again. How's everything going with the chat? Any questions so far?
Absolutely nothing. Everyone's really interested.
Everyone's enthralled. Nobody's particularly got any questions. That's okay. You don't have to have questions. Let's talk about the mad Mannerists. So this is the Mannerist period is from about 1520s to the 1600s, and we're going to talk about Bathsheba at her bath. I think that's how you pronounce it, or is it Bathsheba? Unsure. So this painting is a biblical painting of King David spying on Bathsheba being bathed by two maids. So we have Bathsheba on the far right of the painting, and then the black woman and the white woman that are washing her are the maids. And you have a wonderful fountain in the background that seems to be spewing water from its tits, which is wonderful stuff. We love to see it. So this was painted by Cornelis van Haarlem in 1594. If I'm butchering pronunciation, I apologize. If I need to be corrected on pronunciation, please tell me, please. So yeah, this was painted by Cornelis van Haarlem in 1594. This interpretation actually comes from the Rijksmuseum themselves, where they say that this maid is a little bit too muscular to be a cis woman, which is a bit of a weird thing for a museum to say, but I'm kind of okay with it because it means some sort of trans representation. Unfortunately, that's the double-edged sword of this kind of thing. The sometimes transphobic and transmisogynistic interpretations are actually the thing that give us the representation. And these muscular features, though, were actually part of the Mannerist style, which was all about detail and making the body look a bit more detailed and sometimes a bit more grotesque than the Renaissance liked. So the Renaissance was more about things looking pretty. whereas the Mannerists wanted to show things as they thought it really was, although they kind of also hyped things up a bit, just in a different direction. And this often ended up with homoerotic paintings like The Fall of Lucifer here, which was definitely commissioned by a heterosexual man for heterosexual reasons. Because why would you order a painting like this if you weren't heterosexual? Oh well, the dog has just decided to walk in at the mention of homoerotic paintings. Sorry, I'll just be a moment closing the door. Ooh. I love that the dog heard homoerotic painting and immediately came running into the room. Oh, and you're back because I've said homoerotic painting again. Great. You can't. Sorry, the dog is now just sat beside me and of looking at me like, homoerotic paintings? What? Off you go, sweetie. Go on. There's no more homoerotic paintings. And she's leaving. Sorry about that. That little distraction. Here we have the Baroque period that I'm using this meme to introduce it with. If it ain't Baroque, don't fix it, which I thought was very clever when I was making the presentation. Now we're going to talk about Lord Cornbury. So, another quiz. Which famous historical queer? Hold on, we'll go back a bit on the thing. It starts. Oh no, it just jump back. There we go. Which famous historic queer is Cornbury related to? Chevalier d'Eon, Queen Anne of England, Ludwig of Bavaria, or Oscar Wilde? All wonderful options there. Oh, okay. 50% saying Oscar Wilde, 17% saying Ludwig of Bavaria. Queen Anne of England only gets 8%, and Chevalier d'Eon gets 25%. Well, the actual answer is, if it wants to load at all, there we go. Queen Anne of England. Congratulations to the 8%. Congratulations, Sam. Oh, that was odd. So on the right of your screen, we have Lord Cornbury. On the left of your screen, we have Queen Anne. The Queen Anne painting was painted by Michael Dahl in 1702, and this lives in the National Portrait Gallery. The Lord Cornbury painting that we have is by an unknown artist, painted between 1705 and 1750. Unfortunately, there isn't a more solid date than that. That is quite a range of 45 years. And it lives in the Dallas Museum of Art. I'm not entirely sure why it's in Dallas. Maybe one day I'll find out. So Lord Cornbury, who even is she? Cornbury was one of the first to switch sides and support William of Orange and Mary II, taking the throne of England from James II, Mary's father, even leading a regiment of dragoons during the Glorious Revolution, trademark, where William and Mary were invited to invade England by members of Parliament. Yeah, if you didn't know that that's what happened, that's how that became a thing. Parliament actually invited them to invade us, which I think is such a silly British thing to do. Cornbury was made governor of New York and New Jersey by Queen Anne when she took the throne, and held the position for 7 years, after which she was given residence at Somerset House, which would later become the home of the Royal Academy of Arts. Cornbury seems to have also been in some sort of ambassador position to help negotiate between George I and Queen Anne, handing over the throne after she died. Oh, we have another sound, not another sound cloud. Oh, okay. What did Cornbury do as governor? Please be as wrong as you like. Give wrong answers. What kind of things did she do as governor? What kind of law? Open the Dance Museum of Art. Any laws? Any fun activities? Anything? Boston Tea Party. Not too far off. A lot of yellow vegetables with the foot of the Queen. Was gay do crime. Also not too far. Be gay do crime. Wore many great hats. Probably, unfortunately, we don't have any paintings of the great hats. If she did wear great hats, I don't know if she licked the foot of the Queen. Maybe when they were toddlers, they maybe licked feet. Adopt all the trans babies of the era. Hosted monthly sex parties at the castle. Any more before we move on? Mandatory violin lessons. I think that might annoy numerous people as people are trying to learn. Okay, let's move on. So, Lord Cornbury, she did what? She did some good things and she did some bad things. So one of the good things she did was she started the process of building King's College. She earmarked the land and started getting all the permissions lined up. So she was getting a university built. Bad things she did. She increased the number of slaves in New York to 50% of the general population, which was very bad. And I regularly say in my history presentations that it has nothing to do with her being trans. She was an asshole. She also was trans. You can be trans and an asshole, and it has nothing to do with being trans. She also sold off public land to her Tory friends. Nothing much has changed there then. She also embezzled public money. Also, nothing much has changed there then. She did, however, create New York's first fire department, which is good. Yeah. Doesn't really outweigh the bad things that she did, but she did do some good things. We actually have two portraits of her. So there's this one as well as the one that I showed previously next to Queen Anne. This one was painted around 1710, so just about the year or so after her governorship. The painter has made an effort to make her look like Queen Anne. This is partly because of being her cousin, and partly because she was said to have opened local government assembly dressed as Queen Anne. When this was questioned, she basically said, well, the Queen wears dresses and I represent the Queen, so there. Which I think is a beautiful way to shut people down. Although we can't really do that now, can we? Because we've got Charles. So unless we can make Charles a cross-dresser, no, let's not go down that route. Let's travel through time again. Any questions? Are we still questionless? Is everyone still? Is everyone alive? Everyone awake?
Everyone's just loving your talk comments.
Yeah. Oh, lots of thumbs up. Thank you. Just checking I haven't bored anybody to sleep. If you do have questions, feel free to ask. Ideally related to the presentation. I'm not an expert in everything. I don't know how to fix your sink, any of that kind of thing. But I can tell you about the gorgeous Georgians and this painting, The Wardrobe Ransacked, which is from 1810, painted by David Wilkie. And it supposedly depicts a drunk man coming home and wearing his wife's clothes while his daughter looks on horrified. And the dog does whatever dogs do when you're caught cross-dressing. I don't know, my dog's never caught me cross-dressing. Daughter doesn't look horrified, in my opinion. She looks more like she wants to help dress Daddy up. Like, this really doesn't scream the look of a horrified young girl to me. And if we turn the brightness up, we can see there that the wardrobe is actually a chest of drawers, because the Georgians thought a wardrobe was a chest of drawers. And the coat that the figure is wearing, if I quickly jump back a bit, you can see that the figure is wearing a coat. If my mouse is present, the figure's wearing a coat here. So you can see that the coat leads into here and is coming out of here. And that's trailing out from the wardrobe. And that's where we get wardrobe ransacked from. But yeah, you can see also that with the brightness turned up, again, she doesn't really look shocked. She looks more like she wants to play. And again, the dog just looks like it's doing whatever dogs do, probably excited. The painting was unofficially rejected from the Royal Academy on the grounds of promoting transvestism and drunkenness. This gave David Wilkie a nervous breakdown. Crying face emoji. This was likely due to Wilkie being a closeted transgender woman, in my opinion. Wilkie was found dressed as a woman in their studio and was delighted to finally have someone know. And the little thing that's just popped up to the side says, "It's my opinion, but I'm right." So this painting is another painting by David Wilkie called The Blind Fiddler, and this is an earlier painting from 1806. Wilkie can be seen here at the back of the painting. There's helpful little arrows there pointing to her, with folded arms, wearing a dress. Nobody was really asked about this, about cross-dressing or living as a woman, dressing as a woman in this painting. So it's really weird that they were bothered by the one 4 years later. Not entirely sure what the Royal Academy were thinking there. But here's a larger version, a close-up, and you can see here that Wilkie is wearing the same kind of dress that you see the woman here and the baby and the young girls. They're all wearing the same dress for this fiddler here who is blind, hence the blind fiddler. And again, we see another dog, which is great. Dogs and cross-dressing in paintings. Need more of it. David Wilkie is an interesting case. If we do consider her a trans woman, and I do, then we have our first example of a trans woman painting trans subjects. We have our own trans art tipping point. She's the Laverne Cox of the Georgian Victorian crossover episode. Yeah. And again, we go in our blue box, traveling in time. Do we have any questions from that? No questions? No. That's okay. You don't have to have questions. I'm just trying to make sure I'm holding space. I'm holding space for people's questions. We're going forward to the woeful Second World War. And we're going to talk about Roberta Kelly, who was active between 1939 and 1992. So Roberta Kelly, who even is she? She was a Cumbrian artist. Cumbria is a region in the UK, for anyone that doesn't know. It's where the Lake District is. She was born in 1918. She painted mostly landscapes, and she didn't go to art school until she was in her 40s. So she was mostly self-taught. Oh, Jesus. No, I pressed the wrong button there. Which famous person did Roberta Kelly start pressing? Please be... So we have another word cloud here. Suggests anyone. Wrong answers. Wrong answers are good answers. Caesar. Winston Churchill. Lady Gaga. Oh, Barbara Windsor, Eisenhower, the Queen. Some of you are close, actually. Some of you are getting close. Mothman. Hmm. Martin Luther, 52 of them. Okay, those were some great answers. We'll find out who it was that inspired her to start cross-dressing, or who I think inspired it anyway, in a moment. So, Roberta Kelly, who even is she? She was drafted by the War Office as a war artist during World War II. That's a lot of having to say the word war in rapid succession. She had fancy fans such as Winston Churchill, King George VI, the Queen Mother, and Princess Margaret. So some of you were getting there with the right answer. She began cross-dressing around this time. So after meeting Princess Margaret, who, yeah, is fabulous. That would inspire me to start cross-dressing. I think it would inspire a lot of closeted trans women to start cross-dressing, meeting Princess Margaret. I do not support the royal family, I should just say. I do love Princess Diana, though. Rest in peace. So this painting is of the valley in the Newlands in Cumbria. So Roberta Kelly used whatever materials was to hand, including tea, ketchup, blueberries, whatever she could get her hands on if she didn't happen to have access to paint at the time. Her favourite subject by far was the rolling landscapes of her home county of Cumbria. So this one is by Mosby Church and Lowther Pit in Cumbria, as seen from Parton Beach. My housemate Kit George Art has reliably informed me he managed to find the exact spot that she sat and painted this, which is very exciting. This one is Into the Valley in West Cumbria. Her work would often get darker as she entered more depressive episodes, and would get even darker the more depressed she got. Which you can see here by the dark charcoal drawing, and there are some drawings that are mostly black charcoal that you can barely make out. She rarely painted people, but after being encouraged to by her tutors in art school, she started painting herself as a woman. So we have here a self-portrait, on the 2nd of March, 1985 is when she's dated it. This was the point where she was transitioning. She changed her name, started taking estrogen, and was living as a woman. And she looks fantastic in this painting and in the photo that we showed. This one is called Summer Flowers. Her style supposedly changed when she transitioned, going from industrial subjects to natural subjects. That's not really true, though, as she painted mostly landscapes prior to transition and only really painted industrial scenes when she was commissioned to by the owners of those factories. This one is just called Flowers. And as you may have noticed already, the main change in her style is actually her use of colour, which if we take the darkening paintings as her being depressed, then these are about her being very happy, having transitioned. So this is an illustrated letter by Roberta Kelly. She had a wonderful habit of, she'd write letters for people and then she'd draw on them, or she'd do a painting and then she'd write the letter around the paintings that she'd done. And there are hundreds and hundreds of these. She was a prolific artist, and this is one of the fantastic mediums that she had, people constantly receiving letters and things from her like this. Sadly, she's published about under her dead name, which for anyone that doesn't know is the name that you would go by before you transitioned or before you came out. And that is contrary to her wishes, at the end of her life, including being buried under the name Roberta Penelope Kelly, which didn't happen, sadly. I talked to her estate about that, and they confirmed that they just didn't bother, and that she transitioned and they just decided that they could make more money off of her as her dead name, which is very sad. And that's why I try to talk about her whenever I can, and wanted to make sure she was in this presentation, because that's what she would have wanted. Oh, we're going back through time again, or forwards through time. We're actually moving forwards, I should say. Again, through the non-script blue box that is definitely not a BBC Doctor Who TARDIS, to the 80s, the 1980s. I've got some very fun characters there. We've got Boy George, Madonna, Prince, Adamant, some Indiana Jones. And we're going to talk about Lorenza Butner, which I think is how you pronounce the name. Again, if I'm butchering pronunciation and anybody knows any correct pronunciation, please correct me. But she was active between 1978 and 1994. This doesn't seem to have any animation on it. Never mind. Oh well. Lorenza Butner, who is she? A Chilean-born German artist who was also a double amputee and refused to use prosthetic arms. And she attended art school in the late 70s, early 80s. And here to the right of your screen is an untitled self-portrait from 1980. Butner learned to paint with her feet and her mouth. She would often do this in public, as she said that people were already staring at her, so it might as well be for her art. And here we have a photograph of her, which again is untitled. A lot of her work is untitled, which is a art historian's nightmare, trying to differentiate between things. She would often reference the Venus de Milo in her work, as it was instantly recognizable and it was an established art precedent that people already understood. So it was an easy reference for people to get. So again, here we have an untitled collage, which is photos of a sculpture that she's made onto a backing. Her work only gained proper international acclaim with Documenta 14 in 2017, almost 25 years after her death. Her work was described as increasingly recognized as a significant contribution to the art historical canon, in part for its radical representation of atypical bodies. And here we have another untitled drawing by her in 1987, and this one happens to be of her getting fucked, which is, good for her. Good for her. And then we are traveling forwards in time again, and we're traveling forwards to the present day, to now. We're back. That's it. Thank you for listening to me very speedily go through all those artists. My Instagram and my email are on the screen. Feel free to drop me a message, follow me, drop me an email. Sorry that wasn't a bit longer.